Yeah, it's a Saturday in the park. It's the usual Saturday morning 9 a.m. show of the External Bum Show. I'm your host, Ralph Williams. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know it. It's Saturday here, and it's Saturday everywhere, and we are here. And here where I'm going to introduce some of my co-hosts here, who are all here, bright and bushy at tail and ready to go. Scott Morganroth to my right and your left, and Leo Haggerty below me, and Smoke and Jeremy B. Jeremy Ballrick. We're all here this morning for the External Bum Show. We're going to get started with our bum segment coming up in a few moments. We're in the Mata Heating and Air Conditioning Studios, 724-201-0500. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. If you need your air conditioner fixed, call Mata. You ought to call Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. Also, your comments are welcome in the mailbag, Ralph Williams 737@gmail.com. And I want to thank everyone last week for making last week's show, the top rated viewed show that we've done here for the External Bum Show since coming onto social media and getting away from Blog Talk Radio. All right, we'll get started here with our introductions. I'll start with you, Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. It's been a whirlwind of a week, that's for sure. So I'm glad to be on the show again and looking forward to having a good time.
All right. Scott's also an author. He has a book out there, and it's called Lessons from the Microphone. Go out and get it at Barnes & Noble and also at Amazon as well. I have a copy of it, but it's in my other studio. All right. Below Scott is Smoke and Jeremy B. But Jeremy Ballrick, how are you today, Jeremy? There's Jeremy. Okay. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm doing fantastic, ready to talk a little sports.
All right, great. All right, and then below me is Leo Haggerty from Amped Up Sports. Leo, how are you today?
I'm fine, Ralph, but make sure you enunciate those words because it kind of, if you run them together, it's not good. So I am below you. So that's
oh yeah, below me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's good. But I'm out of $1 practice today. It's hotter than heck. We're expecting a little bit of a tropical storm later today. Scott, you down still in South Florida, or are you up north?
I'm actually back in South Florida. So, in fact, I can empathize with what you're going to go through at $1 places. I go down to the Miami Hurricanes and sweat it out over in Coral Gables when I go out there and handle a practice there. So, you know what, Leo? I'm with you, brother. I really, really am. And I guarantee you one thing. It won't be a Sun Devil shirt tomorrow, but I will wear a white shirt so I can absorb the heat as much as possible. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind being in Wisconsin for 6 days. 2 days later, getting a van, which I did get a Honda Odyssey XL, EXL. And I can empathize with you, Leo, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got a Chrysler Pacifica on Tuesday, wheelchair accessible van, and Scott and I are both happy to get our vans and making my life a whole lot simpler as far as getting around.
Ralph,
accessible van.
I was looking at the Pacifica. For some reason, it didn't do a lot for me. And then since we got a Honda with my wife, and then I like the Odyssey, that's why I like to go. But I tell you what I did do, though, for people who look at the negotiating sales thing, for me, I was using Chrysler to go out there and put them in competition with Honda until I was able to squeeze this thing as far as I could do. And my brother-in-law actually is retired from there. I could get a number, so that's how I was able to manipulate the numbers a little bit in our favor.
All right. Okay, guys, let's get started with our bum segment. We'll start with you, Jeremy, this morning. Here, Jeremy, you're a bum for today.
My bum is Scott Harris.
Okay.
He had a chance to either buy and make the team better or sell and make the team better. And what we got didn't make the team better.
All right, Leo.
Well, I'm going to go with my bum, the Olympic Committee, for a plethora of reasons. We can look at the trans boxer. We can look at the picture of the Last Supper. But here's the worst one. How about this asinine rule they have that only 2 gymnasts can make the finals from a specific country? Excuse me, I thought you were supposed to pick the best. Jordan Childs finished 4th in the all-around. Not 7th, not 12th, 4th. She finished behind 2 former gold medal all-around winners in Simone Biles and Suni Lee. Why is she not in? The fact that you haven't changed this rule is it's criminal. And they're not just the bums, they should be locked up.
All right, Scott, you're bum.
You know, I'm going to think outside the box on this one. This is for a lot of people that are actually learning about dealing with car people. I didn't do business with this dealership anyways, but I used to define robot as in lost in space. That does not danger. But there's a guy, and mind you, I did not do business with these people, named John Boudry. And you know what his first thing is today? What are you looking to buy today? What are you looking to buy today? I'm thinking, well, one thing is for certain, he is a robot, okay? And number 2, what was interesting about the whole thing is this dealership was actually got one vehicle many years ago, and I was able to do real well on it. But then gave them opportunities, and they didn't have the vehicles in stock. And to me, I hear, what are you going to buy today without a warm-up? To me, that is something that people should be conscious of when you deal with car dealerships. So, albeit it's not sports, this is a lesson of life for all of our viewers out there.
All right. My bums, I have a couple bums today. My bum is the NFLticket.com. How dare you try to sue the NFL and think you're going to get away with it? And guess what? The NFL went to a judge, and now this lawsuit's being removed. So guess what? You got an egg on your face now for this crap. And you try to squeeze all these, and then try to squeeze the NFL for billions of dollars, and now the teams don't have to worry about paying that $450 million each team, and they can do some stuff with that money other than giving it to the NFLticket.com. My next bum is PCTV here in Pittsburgh. Thank you for shutting things down at the end of August and screwing me out of the opportunity to put my TV shows on, all because the director didn't want to get up off his lazy, excuse my language, lazy ass and do some work to get to save the station. Now us producers got together the other night for a meeting, and now we're going to save the station. This guy should be fired. He should have been fired a long time ago. And he and I have had numerous arguments about ideas for the station. He didn't like my ideas. He didn't like any other producer's ideas. So now the station's shutting down the end of August, but it's not going down without a fight from us producers. So I can put my 3 TV shows I want to put on and get my media outlet moving. And that's my bums for today. All right. In our comments section, Megan, who's a steady watcher from Australia. Megan, thank you for being part of the program. It says, hey, boys, can't stay, heading to bed, but stopping in to say hello. So hello to you as well, Megan. Thank you for watching as well. All right. And your comments are welcome in mailbag, Ralph Williams 737 at gmail.com. You're also welcome as to express your opinion in that regards. All right. Speaking of the NFL, kind of also want to say the NFL Hall of Famer bums too for not putting Hines Ward in there. Hines Ward deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He was a good wide receiver in his time. He was the one that he was a great blocking wide receiver. Just because he didn't have the stats, it doesn't mean anything. If it wasn't for some of his athleticism and some of his ability, the Steelers wouldn't have won so many the games that they have when he was a player for the Steelers as well. All right, we have a lot to talk about today, including college football, NFL preseason, NFL Football Hall of Fame, and the lawsuit. Let's get started with the Hall of Fame. Guys, your thoughts on the Hall of Fame, who's going in, who didn't get in. Let's start with you, Scott.
Well, I think the most inspirational story of this particular weekend is Steve Gleason. When you think about it, the guy battling ALS was a really big part of the 85 Bears championship team.
Yes.
And when you get hit with ALS, I mean, I'm glad he's going in. To me, every Hall of Famer that got in was worthy of doing it. I know the way the voting works in the NFL in terms of what guys get in every year. You know, you have a group of beat writers that, you know, hey, do me a favor one year, I'll root for your guy and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm really pleased with the class they have. I know you have an issue with Hines Ward, and I understand you being a Pittsburgh guy, you have every right to feel that way. But it took Terrell Owens, 3 years to get in?
Yeah.
Know? And he didn't even want to show up at the event. I said, give me a break. You know, they can only put so many people in at a time.
Right.
He left at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Is it like baseball where you have 75% of the vote? And you're like, you see 1 or 2, 3 people get in during a given year, and the NFL has like 6 or 7. So, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest thing for me this weekend will only be Steve Gleason, and that's it. You know, and I will say this, okay? I'll throw another little mini bum out there while I'm thinking about it. The Detroit Lions should go ahead and be the other bum because they drafted Charles Rogers ahead of Andre Johnson. And how did that work out? That worked out really bad, right? Andre's in the Hall of Fame and Charles Rogers has been in jail. You know, we talk about a police job. Okay, when the Lions got Barry Sanders instead of Tony Mandarich, my gosh, I mean, those are unbelievable comparisons, to say the least. So, I don't know. Hines will eventually get in, but I think there's other wide receivers that probably are more worthy. You know, sometimes some of the best players have to wait a while. Like, for example, Floyd Little got in many, many years later. And I was actually there when he ended up getting in at the Super Bowl.
So, I mean, yeah, I get it. All right.
So,
Leo Haggerty. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I wouldn't get so caught up in the Hines Ward. I understand where your mind is at. If he's that good, he'll eventually get in.
All right, Leo.
The biggest problem, gentlemen, is you got to convince fans that it's not the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Fame. And the fact that some players played for specific teams that threw the ball more, that ran the ball more, and accentuated their specific skills, it's really hard to determine, especially when you go back pre-passing era teams. When you look at those teams that were run first, run second, run third, it's hard to look at a wide receiver. Like, how about a guy like Paul Warfield? You know, how about a guy that didn't catch a lot of passes because Miami didn't throw the ball a lot.
Right.
Redskins didn't throw the ball a lot. But it comes down to a point where you really have to look at inside the statistics. You know, what percentage of the offense did he provide? I mean, people are all talking about these quarterbacks now that sure Hall of Famer, sure. I don't think so. There's like maybe 1 or 2 right now that we're looking at, and I think it's right now Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. But after that, I don't see a whole lot of guys going in. Hey, Brady's a given. That's a given.
Right. Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, he's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, when you can flash up 2 or 3 or 4 Super Bowl rings, that's going to get you in. So, yeah.
Right.
You know, Leo, you make a really interesting point, and I'm going to say this right now. You know, the words I really hate the most when it comes to sports: future Hall of Fame. Well, the hell makes you think you can figure out who a future Hall of Famer is? You're not voting for crying out loud. Seriously? You are not voting if you're calling somebody a future Hall of Famer. Get the hell out of there and focus on the facts, not the editorialism that hampers journalism as it has throughout our lifetime. Future Hall of Famers should be, to me, are considered a expletive. I think it's just horrible. But yeah, when you win championships, I truly believe that enhances your chances of getting in any Hall of Fame.
All right, Jeremy, your thoughts, the NFL Hall of Fame.
Well, you want to know who I'm impressed that got in, and this is a positionless player because he played two different positions, but he did one thing friggin' fantastic. That's Devin Hester, probably the best punt and kick returner there ever was in the game. I'm impressed that he made it. I'm happy for Mongo that he made it from the '85 Bears team, but how many is that now? 23 of the 44-man starting roster. It's great, but how many people outside of Chicago Bears fans and a couple of people that were there, our age, watching them, remember? And the
Right.
one that had me up in arms, Corey Holt. He's been a part of the Veterans Board for getting in now for 3 years, and they still haven't put him in.
All right, we welcome Dwayne Keene to the program here. He's commenting, let's go Lions, #1 pride, NFC North Division Championship title. Thank you for tuning in today, Dwayne. Thank you very much. All right. My opinion of the Hall of Fame is I'm glad that they were able to accommodate Steve Mongo McMichael. Now, not only do I know him from the Bears, I also know him from professional wrestling because, as you know, I follow professional wrestling and I talk about it. Okay. Steve Mongo McMichael was with one of the best factions in wrestling, and that's the Four Horsemen. And he had his opportunity to wrestle with Ric Flair. Okay. And that in itself, as well as being in the Hall of Fame, plus on top of that, he's also in the Wrestling Hall of Fame with the Four Horsemen. So he's going to get another ring. He's going to get another Hall of Fame. And it's great to see Steve Mongo McMichael in the Hall of Fame. And that's my thoughts and my opinion for the Hall of Fame for this year. All right. Next, we're going to talk about, speaking of the NFL, while we're on it, the NFL lawsuit. As I said earlier, I think this NFLticket.com got big egg on their face now. We'll start with you, Leo. Your thoughts on this lawsuit and the judge throwing it out.
You go against the NFL, fellas, you better have all your I's dotted, all your T's crossed, and all your ducks in a basket.
And a basket.
Because they do not play. You know, it's a legal monopoly, bottom line. That's what it is. And if you're going to sue the biggest SOB in the Valley, you better be right, because if you're not right, they are going to crush you like a bug, and that's what's going to happen.
All right, Smoking Jeremy B.
Well, first off, it was a class action lawsuit by people who subscribed to Sunday Ticket. And if you actually read what happened, the two guys that had the most convincing testimony, they had to throw them out because the judge said no reasonable jury without those two. It sounds like they perjured themselves. Without those two testimonies, there's no way that those people, that class action lawsuit, would have won the first time. So they threw out the two testimonies, and the other 80 testimonies didn't count. They didn't push the needle. So that's what it was, and it was $447 million if we tripled it, calling the NFL a monopoly. And they already said they doubted that would happen. So the worst it's going to be is that $146 million. At the same time, the owners already told Roger Goodell, we're not paying it, which is why he appealed it immediately.
All right, like Scott Warner up.
All right, well, here's the thing. I had numerous opportunities on all of my shows to talk about this thing. Well, everybody's worried about the clicks, right? Let's talk about the NFL class action lawsuit, but I didn't do it. You know why I didn't do it? As Paul Harvey would say, I want to hear the rest of the story. Right? Remember, how many of us remember Paul Harvey, right? The rest of the story. When I was at WXYZ Radio in Detroit back in 1979, we were the station that had Paul Harvey on there as well as other
I had
ones.
it on my station too when I worked in radio. Yes, I remember
Right.
Paul Harvey very well.
Right. So my point is I didn't want it on any of my shows because I want to hear it all before I go out there and pass judgment on this thing. And there's no question that the outcome turned out to be what I expected. You can't fight against the NFL. What chances do you have to do that? It's like a 2-year-old fighting against a 25-year-old. It ain't gonna happen anyway.
Right.
And
That's like showing up to a gun battle with a knife.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But my point is, in this day of new media, okay, and I'll tell you that is you get so many different stories that you have to work as hard as you can to weed out the fake news. So, for example, if I see something on Threads or Instagram or something that I don't view as a reliable source, I just don't even waste my time with it to put it on the air. And on Threads, you can just say not interested. They'll get the hit that you don't want to be. You don't think an organization's credible to put this garbage up there.
Right.
So fake news to me, which a lot of this garbage is anyways, although this wasn't fake news in this particular case, there's no way, it wasn't worth my time to put it on the air. Any more or less, when you had that Duke lacrosse situation on there, now I am not putting anything on there until I have all the facts. Folks, I'm going to say this. The one thing I say in my book is, you better have enough facts to back up your opinion. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you don't, you'll be doomed. Big time. And, there's certain things that you live and die by, in our industry. Have facts and nobody can come at you too hard, if at all. Because that's what you have to rebuild any criticism that you get. But I think that lawsuit was a joke. And it wasn't worth any of my time on any of my shows to put it on.
All right. We're going to pay a few bills here. Alex's Flowers. Call Alex today. Do you need flowers for your sweetheart, a funeral, a wedding, anything, any kind of an event, and you need flowers? 30 years in the flower floral business. Call Alex today, 412-661-6071, located near the Highland Park section of Pittsburgh. Alex's Flowers right on Chisholm Street, Morningside. Stop by and talk to him or go online, alexsflowers.com. Alex's Flowers. Experience, affordable, and reliable. Alex's Flowers. Also, I want to talk to you today about Robin Campbell Insurance. Farmers, Bristol West, any insurance needs that you have, call Robin today, 412-366-3399. That's 412-366-3399. 10 years ago, Robin Campbell came to my house. He sat down with me and he went over all the information I needed to get the right policy for me. That's what Robin Campbell does. Okay, I can call Robin Campbell on the phone and get him on the phone. Don't have to go through recordings. Don't have to go through customer service. I can get him on the phone. All right, anytime at all. When I need help with insurance, I call Robin Campbell, 412-366-3399. Do you need a wheelchair accessible van? Well, I have one. I just got it this week. And guess who I got it from? Keystone Coach Works, 412-833-1900. Call him today. Ask for Dawn. Talk to him. Dawn will take very good care of you, make sure you're in the right vehicle, and custom fit the vehicle the way you want it. And that is what Keystone Coach Works does. They've been in this business a long time. You can also lease and you can also finance. Call them today, 412-833-1900. All right, guys, we're back. And let's get into some college football a little bit. We're going to go around here. Everybody has a team that they cover or that they're interested in. Leo, we'll start with you, South Florida Bulls.
You know what, guys? If, and these are big ifs, But if the injury bug doesn't bite the Bulls in the butt, there's a lot of bees in there, I know. If Byron Brown, again, another bunch of bees, if he can get through all 12 games, this team athletically is flat out loaded. They have athletes coming out of everywhere. Their receiving room is big, it's quick, it's long. They've got offensive linemen. The biggest thing now is defense. Because with all the rules favoring the offense in college football, if you can hold a team in the 20s, that's a good game defensively. If you can hold them under 20, that's a great game. South Florida shut out Syracuse. That's phenomenal. You just don't see that in college football anymore. But it's going to be a fun ride watching these guys this year, especially if they stay healthy.
Well, you know what, Leo?
Syracuse.
I was at that game. I was at that game when they shut him out. And one thing you forgot is Alex Bullock is a heck of a coach still.
Yes.
And I think they've run through a wall for this guy. So love his energy and his passion. I was at that game. I couldn't believe what I was watching. My alma mater crushed Syracuse. It was pretty fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, it was. And here's Dwayne Keene. He says, we're going to bite the kneecaps all year long. He's talking about the Detroit Lions. And then good morning to all. And good morning to you too, Dwayne. Thank you for watching as always. All right. Leo, they're in the AAC. What do you see the South Florida Bulls doing this year in the AAC? Do you see them taking a championship, getting in the middle? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you what, the media picked them fourth. And after they opened up with Bethune-Cookman at home, travel to Alabama, then they get Southern Miss, and then Miami shows up. But catch this, their first two conference games are Tulane and Memphis. Wow. They were both picked 1 and 2. So we're going to know real early what they look like. So, yeah, it's the good news about the schedule is, guys, there's 12 games. 9 of them are Saturday. There's a flex that last game Thanksgiving weekend, either Friday or Saturday. But they're 2 Friday games, no Thursday games. They're 2 Friday games. They're all following a bye week. So the schedule really works out well for USF.
All right, Scott Morganroth, Miami Hurricanes.
Miami Hurricanes. You talk about the Hurricanes going up to USF. I'm looking forward to going to that game for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be a dogfight because I think South Florida will come right at them. You know.
Now, I'll have more about the Canes a little bit more tomorrow after I go to the practice and talk to Coach Cristobal and whoever the hell available. We'll talk about the Hurricanes. Year number 3, Mario Cristobal. I've always said on every show that I've appeared on that give this guy 3-4 years and they'll be elite. Now they get Cam Ward, I think the quarterback transfer from Washington State. I've heard nothing but good things about the guy. Time will tell how well he does. And don't forget Xavier Restrepo, one of the most underrated receivers in the country. I've spoken to Xavier many times, but what a great kid. That's a name you could be hearing on an NFL draft board in 2025. The other thing that I work with is Florida Atlantic University. Yes, a Friday game against another USF. I have to tell you, though, that when USF smoked Syracuse, I had no problem wearing my USF colors in that stadium at all. As proud as heck, it was all USF that day. Nobody could say a darn thing about it. But my point here is this, okay? Year number 2 of the Tom Herman regime. Now he's got his feet wet. I'll be curious to see what kind of improvement that Coach Herman has. And by the way, I owe him a Motor City Badmouth hat that I will be getting probably in the next couple of weeks in exchange for a one-on-one interview and all that. So we're working on getting that worked out. So I got Florida Atlantic and Miami. How well FAU will do, I don't know. Miami should be pretty they should be much, much better with the recruiting class that Mario has brought in. And, of course, Leo did my talking with USF.
All right. Smoking Jeremy B., Michigan.
Well, Michigan is coming off probably their best season in a long time. It was a historic run going like they did, undefeated all the way to the national championship. and it's marred by some things, you know, the whole everything went in season, then he runs away and goes to the NFL before the rest of the punishment comes down. That was unexpected because he literally said his goal was to get Michigan a national championship. He did it. Now he went back to the NFL. He's trying to get that elusive Super Bowl ring. But he had. I don't understand why he took a job with a team that has in the AFC that had the same results as the Dallas Cowboys this century.
All right.
They just don't seem to get it done. So, but Michigan, I'm looking for them to be like a 9 to 10 win team because I see them struggling with a few of the powerhouses, including Ohio State. And if they do manage to beat Ohio State, expect Ryan Day to have walking papers before he gets back to the office.
You know, Jeremy, it's funny how you say that. I kind of, in my mind, thought that Michigan winning 9 or 10 games is realistic. It really is. I mean, that wouldn't be. I mean, now we're coming off a national championship season, right? Okay, you know, massive turnover in the coaching staff, a brand new head coach, and don't sell Martindale short either because he's a heck of a coach. So if you win 9 or 10 games after the player and the coaching turnover, nobody's gonna sit there and worry about it. Right now, they don't care. They got their national championship. First one, the first one, you know, since I think World War II, where nobody can say they divided it or anything. I think outright national championship is what I'm looking. So they got that grill off their back. So, and I think Michigan 9 or 10 wins is realistic.
All right. I wanted to ask you about Wisconsin. I don't know if you follow it as much as Candy does. What's your thoughts this year, Matt Rule, in his second season? What do you think Matt Rule's going to do this year up there?
Well, I don't think Matt Rule's going to do anything in Wisconsin because he coaches at Nebraska. Okay.
I'm sorry, Nebraska. Jeez,
But
man.
if you're-
I meant Luke Fickle. I'm sorry, Luke Fickle.
Nah, I'm just kidding with you, Ralph. I'm busting your chops. I just don't want Matt Rule to get credited with wins and losses in Wisconsin when he's not part of the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding with you.
Yeah, I got the coaches mixed up. My apologies.
It's okay, Ralph. It's okay. It happens to all of us. You're not the first one. You won't be the last one. Even with tired, weary-eyed Ulrich.
Yeah.
But, you know, the way I look at it is this, okay? I think Tyler Van Dyke is the new quarterback over at Wisconsin. I've seen him play a couple of years. Pretty good quarterback. Of course, the competition is going to be fierce in the Big Ten. So I think Luke Fickell will improve by about 1 or 2 wins. But, you know, when you're with coaching Wisconsin, which is like a middle-tier team in the Big Ten, you know, you can't forget who you're bringing in. You got USC, Oregon, although Washington will be a fraction of what well, but even USC and Oregon, and on top of what you have, it's going to be a challenge. It'll be a challenge for the Badgers this year.
Oh, yeah. All right. Pitt, Penn State, West Virginia. I just did a college football special on Tuesday on my Sports Corner show with Smoke and Jim Frazier and myself. I had 3 different reporters on that cover. One covers Pitt, one covers Penn State, one covers West Virginia. Neil Brown down in West Virginia was on the hot seat last year. He finally got to a bowl game, and the hot seat's kind of gotten a little colder now. So we're going to see where Neil Brown goes. Okay. I put in my application for media credentials for Pitt this year, and I'll probably be at the Backyard Brawl at Acrisure Stadium. So I'm hoping to be there to see that game. That's going to be a very interesting game. Not only does West Virginia, but Penn State, James Franklin, and the gang up there are always tough. They always play good at home, and they always sell out their stadium up there. I had Emmett Mahan on from Draft Nation, who works with Joe Kuglis and JT Toth, and with Draft Nation, formerly known as Draft 412. And Emmett told me the team is sort of rebuilding a little bit, but he says he thinks they're going to be tough and they should be up there with the rest. But you're right about this, Scott. The Big Ten's gotten tougher this year with Oregon, USC coming in. It's going to be some tough sled for anybody in the Big Ten this year as far as that goes. The ACC, on the other hand, has the same situation. You have SMU, California coming in. Pitt has to play both of those teams this year. They go to SMU, and Cal comes here to Acrisure Stadium. Pat Narduzzi's in his 10th season, and I think, and I was told that this year he is on the hot seat because he has to get this team at least 6-5 and into a bowl game in that 3-9 debacle from last year. This year now, he has a new offensive coordinator in Cade Bell from Western Carolina, who runs a go offense, very fast, very speedy. I checked out the spring game, and it looks like it's really good. But my concern, everyone, is when you come in with a new offensive system with the talent from the last system, which was a power running game and not a go system, that's the concern for this year. If they squeeze out 6-5, Pat Narduzzi will save his job. If they go again, I heard that the alum will not be satisfied. Pat Narduzzi may get fired. But we're going to find out what happens this year with Pitt as far as that goes. It's a very tough sledding schedule. They have West Virginia, and then they need to beat Cincinnati at Cincinnati. They shouldn't have lost that game that was here last year. They have to go at North Carolina, California. Syracuse has a new coach. SMU. That's going to be a dogfight. We go to SMU. We've never been to SMU. We don't, And Virginia, we'll see what they do with Tony Elliott. Clemson, as always, Dabo Swinney always puts out a good team, and we beat Clemson a few times. Louisville, we beat them last year, but we're at Louisville, and I'm interested to see what Bill O'Brien does at Boston College. So we're going to see how that works in the ACC as well. Guys, I think you'll agree with me on that. All right, let's move on.
Ralph, don't forget that. Yeah, don't forget that Stanford's joining the ACC. I don't know if they're on your schedule or not, but you never know if that they can meet down the line. But Stanford, Cal, and
Stanford,
SMU,
yes. Yeah. Stanford's not on our schedule this year.
They what?
They're not on our schedule this
no,
year.
But I still want to acknowledge the fact that
yes.
I still want to acknowledge the fact that they are part of the conference now to be reckoned with. So you never know if you can see them in a championship game down the road. You never know. But I think the one thing that people need to understand about SMU that most people probably don't is they're not going to collect any money from any ACC rights for at least 9 years.
Right.
But here's the thing about SMU. They got boosters with deep pockets that they don't care. Put us in a Power 4 conference, but we don't care. We'll finance the ponies, and it won't matter anyway. Once upon a time, this program was given the death penalty, and obviously it's been a tough road bringing them back. But, SMU, California and Stanford it'll be interesting to see some of these West Coast teams play.
All right. Our next segment, we're going to talk about the baseball trades that happened with the trade deadline. This segment's brought to you by the Original Hometown Pizza in Moon Township, University Boulevard, 412-264-4444. Call, get a takeout order. You can eat in, or you can get delivery if you live in the Moon Township area. Call them today. Tell them Ralph Williams sent you. Maybe grab a pizza on your way to the airport. Okay. So what you want to do is give them a call today, 412-264-4444, the Original Hometown Pizza. Tell them Ralph Williams sent you. You'll get a discount on your order. All right, guys, we're going to get into Major League Baseball trades. Let's start with you, Scott. Your thoughts on the trade deadline and some of the trades that were made in baseball.
Number one, I'll make a Pittsburgh reference here. Ryan Dela Cruz will be a good, solid player for the Pirates.
Yes.
2 reasons. One, solid is the right word. He will not hurt the Pirates. And 2, he's signable. So you don't have to worry about taking a guy that you're going to lose in a couple of years. So I think it's a decent trade for him. And for the Miami Marlins, well, what do you expect? I mean, here's a team that continues to have constant fire sales, and it's tough enough to put people in the stands anyways, but the Marlins are the Marlins. And for the Detroit Tigers, Jeremy summed it up much better, okay? That they did not do anything to improve themselves at the deadline, and that's just a shame. It really is. So that's my take on a whole lot of it. And as far as the Milwaukee Brewers are concerned, you're looking to get to the postseason. You only made one trade at the deadline. I don't think they did enough to improve their roster to go deep into the postseason.
All right, we're in the Mata Heating and Air Conditioning Studios. 724-201-0500. Call Mata Heating and Air Conditioning today. And this morning, we're actually in Studio A here today. Usually we're in Studio B on Saturday mornings, but I decided to have it on Studio A this morning. I actually kind of went to bed a little early last night after watching Talk Radio, an Oliver Stone film. I love his films. And Talk Radio was probably one of the more inclusive movies that got me into talk radio and doing talk radio stuff.
Oh, did it really? You know what? I've watched that movie a few times, and I'm going to make reference to that particular book and Lessons on the Microphone part too. Now,
Right.
I really liked it, that movie, a long time. The first time I saw it was when I was out in Springfield, Connecticut at a hotel. I was headed into Hartford the next day. Talk Radio, yeah, that's a good movie. I asked my wife to go ahead and watch it as well. Although she probably wouldn't want me to be like that because, she figured I'd get killed anyways. And I always seem to reach my medical deductible in February every year.
All right, Leo Haggerty, Tampa Bay Rays. I heard they're selling out. What's going on?
Yeah, they tried to trade Raymond, the mascot, and there was no takers. But the biggest problem right now, guys, I think with Major League Baseball, is you got a few of the notorious sellers that may be buyers, albeit San Diego Padres.
They're always buying.
Kansas City Royals. I mean, normally Kansas City is dumping talent, but look at what they are. They're sitting pretty. They're probably going to make the wild card. Now, in the National League, if you're 500 or even close to it, you're still in the wild card hunt, which is great for baseball, because now you've got teams going into August and September playing meaningful baseball games. Yeah, now I know, Scott, the Miami Marlins, that's a tough thing. They're pretty much out of it. Stick a fork in them. I get that. The Chicago White Sox, they're terrible. But pretty much if you're at 500 in the National League, you're still in the race. If you're 4 games above 500 in the American League, you're still in the wild card hunt.
Well, you want to know a really crazy, unusual story that happened to me about the trade deadline? You guys are really, and this is going in the next one too. I'd like to throw a couple teasers out there for the second.
Go ahead. Sure.
I interviewed Brian Hoeing, the pitcher, Sunday. Thank God to Luis Durante Jr., one of my friends in the Marlins organization, finds a way to get me the players. What do you think happened to Brian? 48 hours later, traded to the San Diego Padres. Video's already up there, and I still have to write the story, which I'll probably do over the weekend now that I have a little bit of time to kick my breath, right? Okay. Now, the Padres are coming in town, I think, next weekend. I'm going to try to catch up with Brian. I don't know if I can or not. I'm going to try to catch up with him in a Padres jersey instead. You want to talk about one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen? You interview a guy, Hoeing goes from Hoeing to a Boeing out to San Diego, right? Boeing's the name of an aircraft, right? Or airline, or whatever you call it. And that interview was pretty neat. The guy that played basketball at Indiana. We had a lot of good things to talk about with Indiana and all that. So, Leo, it's funny how you talk about the Marlins because you kind of set me off a little bit about talking about Hoeing. And the amazing part about the guy, he's a super nice guy. Luis Durante Jr. has done a great job getting me 2 players. They're not only pretty decent players, but they're great people. They really are. Gotta love my Luis, man. How you like that? Does that blow you guys away? You interview a guy 48 hours later, you shipped out to the West Coast.
Yeah, you got
Oh,
you
yeah,
got to change,
absolutely.
change the interview line there, don't you?
What's that?
You got to change the byline on that to all of a sudden, Miami Marlins / West Coast.
Well, it's funny how you say that. When I write the story, there's a chance that what you're talking about headline, we could make the change like that. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to writing the story nonetheless.
All
Kind
right,
of
Dwayne King.
kind of a parting shot, right, Scott?
I don't know about that. I think it was one of the most enjoyable experiences that I've ever seen because the guy's a super nice guy. I got this interview about an hour before the game time because we were really up against a lot of situations that weekend with Milwaukee. But luckily, we were able to get to the Sunday game. Certain things on Friday and Saturday didn't work out, but it didn't matter. I thought the best game of that series was Ryan Braun ended up going into the Walk of Fame. And of course, they pulled the rabbit out of her hat, Ryan Owing. So, and he's still, his name, Bryan, is the same as my middle name with the same Y in it. So it was a lot of fun. That's what makes this so interesting, Jeremy. And take note on this, right when you think you've seen everything, you haven't. And all of a sudden, if you can't, Leo will tell you as well, if you can't think on the fly fast, you're in trouble, right, Leo?
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to drill that message into ball right as well. You can do all the 9 million podcasts you want, but until you're in the field and stuff like that comes up, it's like, holy sorry. How do you change gears that fast? And let me tell you, whether you've been in the business 4 days or 40 years, it doesn't make a lick of difference. You got to be able to adapt to all these different curveballs, and you better be able to know how to do them pretty quickly. And I'm not knocking you, Jeremy. It's just a teaching moment. You know what I mean? And when you're in the field, it's a much different animal than wearing a headset or talk into a microphone. That's all.
I get it.
Guys, Jeremy, you're next. Your thoughts on the MLB trade?
The MLB trade deadline, like I said, I called Scott Harris my bum because his best trades happened 2 days before the deadline. The ones he did the day of the deadline were less than desirable. His best trade was trading struggling right-handed reliever Andrew Chafin to the Rangers and getting back prospects that can help the bullpen in the future. One being Montalvo, which will be like 2 or 3 years down the road. He's been playing single high A with 13 starts, 2.44 ERA. And then Chase Lee, who's been playing AAA with the Rangers club. And he's got a 1.93 ERA over 10 and 2/3 innings as a closer. And only one thing. So that's something to look forward to coming up, an actual closer instead of making reliever a closer like he's done.
All right. My Pittsburgh Pirates, I thought Ben Cherington did a really pretty decent job this year with some trades. We didn't just sell, we bought. We brought guys in like De La Hoya, as Scott mentioned. We brought in Weaver from the Mets. We traded for him. He's a good middle reliever. We also got a few other guys, some good minor leaguers like the York kid. This guy has super duty. He played every position on the field, including catcher. So, I mean, this guy is phenomenal. His name's Mike York, and I think he's going to be a really good player. We traded again with San Diego. We traded off Martin Perez. Martin Perez was hurt. He had a couple good starts, but it just wasn't working here with him. So we ended up trading him away. And I thought that the trade deadline wasn't a bad thing. Some guys got moved around all across Major League Baseball. And I believe it wasn't a bad MLB trade deadline as well. Dwayne King said, let's go Wolverines, Big Ten championship and national championship. Thank you, Dwayne. Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, real quick. What amazed me is there wasn't that blockbuster move. You know, everybody just went, wow. It was just a bunch of, middle level trades.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Let me mention this. Thanks for bringing that up, too, Leo. Jazz Chisholm Jr. will be a superstar.
You're right, Scott. That's a huge trade.
Let me tell you what, though, guys. Jazz Chisholm Jr. will be a superstar in New York. How would you like to be batting behind Aaron Judge and Carlos Stanton and the rest of those guys compared to what he did in Miami? Let's face it, okay? I've talked to Jazz many times, all right, here in Miami. And, there's one word that describes this guy. He's a spark plug. He loves the game. That's the one thing you need a guy like him with so much charismatic, okay, like Jazz Chisholm. So when we look at the trade deadline, there was a lot of player movement, and it lived up to what it was supposed to be, and you were able to separate contenders from pretenders. But watch out for Jazz Chisholm Jr. Watch for Glaber Torres to eventually get shipped out of there anyway. The Jazz go back to second base. But right now, Aaron Boone has to get him to the World Series or deeper into the playoffs. That's what he's got to do. But just like Brian Dela Cruz with you, Ralph, in Pittsburgh, and Dan Chisholm, by the way, former Marlins, okay? And Tanner Scott, no relation to Scott here, okay? In San Diego, okay? These guys are going to do real well in their roles, but again, don't lose sight of Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's already got like 4 home runs already since he's been there. And it just his attitude. There's no way in a million years that New York fans cannot gravitate to this guy. He'll weed out all the boos and all that and keep playing hard. And I think that down the road, and here's the thing I want to say about the Marlins, okay? They could have won not only this year and next year, but they threw in the towel when they let Luis Arias go earlier in the year, right? Instead of beginning this with fire sale a year earlier. I don't care what the justification is this time. Peter Bendix, that has nothing to do with me. What you have to understand is it's tough enough to put people in that building anyway, and getting any easier. And the last I looked, they were second worst in Major League Baseball in attendance with 12,000. Oakland was last at 7,900. But you understand why Oakland's attendance is near the bottom anyway. So I give the Ace a pass.
All right, we're going to do a quick segment here. It's a new segment called Quick Notes, which means I have some notes here about a couple things that we didn't talk about that I'm going to go real quick before we get into our local segment. And this segment here is brought to you in part by Big Dog Auto. Go to Big Dog Auto in West Mifflin by the Allegheny County Airport. Big Dog Auto will handle all of your auto mechanical needs, including brakes inspection. Also, they handle much more. Tires, they can get you a nice price on some tires, oil changes, whatever you need. Call Big Dog Auto. Call the Big Dog today, 412-999-0191. Tell Big Dog I sent you. Ralph Williams sent you. I tell you what, Big Dog Auto, nice people, affordable pricing, and you know what? They take care of all your mechanical needs. Big Dog Auto. All right. Our quick note segment today is Gary Patterson, former ECU head coach, who has worked for Baylor since February as a senior strategic consultant. A source close to this thing with Baylor says that he has stepped away. Apparently, something happened between Gary Patterson and Baylor, and he stepped down. So he's only been on the job since February. So he's moving. Gary Patterson, former GCU coach, moving on to something else. All right. Next, we're going to get our local segment here. Let's start with you, Jeremy B. Local. What's going on in your area?
Well, the Tigers are struggling to score, and that's nothing new because what they needed was bat. What they got was arms. I mean, and they traded away 2 of our consistent bats to get that. But at the same time, if they wouldn't have traded away Carson Kelly, we wouldn't see Dingler up at the major league level. He'd still be languishing with the mud at That's the 800 OPS. So he came up and in his first night, he got a walk, a double, and an RBI, and I think that's a pretty good opening night for a guy that's been at AAA the last year. Other than that, it's camp as usual. There's been a few injuries at the Lions, and we're moving forward and seeing who's got what and who can do what.
All right. Scott Morganroth.
Well, here in South Florida, very low-key time of the year, wrapping up football a little bit. But it won't be long before the Florida Panthers have to get refocused again on defending the Stanley Cup.
Right.
So all I can say about the Panthers is you better enjoy all your moments with that trophy, where you're going to take it from here to Siberia. It doesn't matter. Because now, as they always say in Florida, let's hunt. You know what's going to end up happening? Now you're going to be hunted. So I think they did, once again, theme of this show is take the gorilla off your back. I mentioned that earlier today, right? Well, the Panthers did exactly just that, okay? And now you have to defend what you've already earned. And I'll tell you, trying to win back-to-back is not easy in this day and age. It really isn't. So enjoy your summer, Panthers. The real fun starts later on this fall. And you have
It's
to
just like
defend
it's
it.
just like the other sports spot with the salary cap. It's hard to win back to back every year, and it's the same thing. Penguins did it, but it's hard to do. It's not an easy thing. All right, Leo, you're local.
One real quick note there, Ralph. The last team to do it was the Tampa Bay Lightning. Went
Right,
back to back. In fact, I asked John Cooper, I said, how important would that be? He said, to win one, you're good. To win two in a row, like the Pittsburgh Penguins did, you're special. And that's what it is. Now, everything's pretty much shut down here with the Olympics. The Rays are on the road. They got two more down in Houston. Then a travel day Monday. Then they shoot up to St. Louis, play the Cardinals. MLS, the Rowdies, they're on the West Coast. They're playing Monterey Bay out there in Northern California. But we've got the Stateside Cup tonight, which is West Ham and Crystal Palace, two Premier League teams. They're going to go at it in Tampa Bay. I hate to add this, but guys, it's weather permitting. That's for sure.
Yeah, we have soccer coming here. That World Cup soccer, class soccer, whatever, it's coming to Acrisure Stadium. It's sold out, so that's coming here. So soccer is really getting big everywhere. I mean, because of the World Cup and everything. But as far as the Pirates go, they did a pretty decent job, as I mentioned earlier, in the trade deadline. They're in the wild card race. They need to start winning consistently and stop losing stupid games and quit making dumb mistakes that they've been making. They try to cut. They have been called the comeback kids this year. They've done a lot of comeback wins. We'll see where they go. The Steelers, as far as training camp goes, they had what they call the public training camp spectacle. I call it. It's in Latrobe. At Latrobe High School, it's sold out. I think you see like about 6,000 people, and they had their it was open to the public, $10 for tickets to get into it, and they came in and did their practice, signed autographs, did everything else. The key problem that we're having right now is Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson went down with an ankle injury, and he's supposed to be our number 2 wide receiver. And we went out and signed a couple ham and eggers over the course of this week. Cornerback from Arizona. We signed a couple other wide receivers, one of them from the Ravens and a few others, but they're ham and eggers. So we're going to see where this goes. Russell Wilson has a calf injury because I can't figure out how in the world a quarterback is pushing a sled. Okay. Sleds are supposed to be used for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and perhaps linebackers. Okay. Not supposed to be used for the quarterback. Well, apparently, I think this strength and conditioning coach or whoever made him do this needs to be fired because now he caused him to have a calf injury. And but now he practiced last night. Russell Wilson, with the team at Latrobe Stadium last night. So we're going to see where the Steelers go with this. Justin Fields, it's been the whole storyline throughout the entire training camp, and we're going to see where the defense goes and where the offense under Arthur Smith goes. Also, the Penguins, big news, Evgeny Malkin said that this is his final contract with the Penguins. He's going back to Russia to play. He's going to do like Jaromir Jagr. He'll probably play till he's 50 years old or whatever, or beyond that. Malkin said after this contract's up, he's gone from the Penguins. And he said he wants to take the money and help the Penguins sign Sidney Crosby to his new contract. So that's the reason why Malkin's bowing out as well. Him and Malkin have had a good rapport, came in at the same time. They played, won Stanley Cups. So, Malkin wants to move on. He wants to go to Russia, take his time, play a little here and there or whatever he's going to do there. He'll probably make more money there than he does here in the NHL, and he can go home. All right. So as far as the Riverhounds go, they're having a rough season this year, but they're hanging in there, and we'll see if they can pull some wins out at the end and come up and get back into the playoffs. And let's hope this year they don't lay an egg. They were the favorites last year, and guess who they lost to? They lost to Detroit in a game last year in the playoffs. All right. let's get our closing information here. We'll start with you, Leo. Tell us a little bit about Amped Up Sports and how people can get a hold of you.
Hey, we got a new website through BizBot Solutions, so check us out. We're covering USF, end to end, wall to wall. Out here at the Bucks today, going to get some good interviews today. But go to ampedupsports.com, YouTube, Facebook.
And thank you, by the way, Leo, for putting my stuff on your network there. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, next, Scott Morganroth.
All right. Well, thanks again, Ralph. Another good show. Anyways, my book is called Lessons from the Microphone. If you have it nearby, since mine is already packed in my suitcase, I have to get another one out. It'd be great if we could pull it out. But nevertheless, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders, can be purchased on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and a bunch of other places. Talk about old school media versus new school media. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com, for which Jeremy Ballrick does contribute content to it as well, and all of our shows are on there as well. Twitter at Tribune South. I call it Twitter. I haven't really taken me a while to adapt to the X thing any more than I'll always call Joe Robbie Stadium what it is, not Hard Rock. So say what you want about all that. But between Twitter, the website, and more importantly, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. And also, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. I'm adding more and more great, solid commentators, and I hope that you can continue to see the growth as well. Of course, Jeremy and Ralph and Leo have been apart. I'm hoping to expand some roles here. A lot of that stuff will be announced at a later date. Glad to be on. It's been a whirlwind of a week. I still have more to do this weekend, but glad this show is conveniently timed so I can get on week in and week out.
All right, thank you, Scott. Jeremy Ballrick.
Well, you can find me basically on the SouthFloridaTribute.com, wherever Scott needs me, and also on Andy and I's show Fire Up with Ralph Williams and others at that time. You can find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com, as he said, where I contribute my writings about the Lions and hopefully some college teams coming up soon. Then also, you can also find me on my channel, which is on YouTube, PCAP Fighting with the Motor City Lions, where I am live 9 times a week, including sharing the ones I'm a part of, like this one, on my channel. So you can find me everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place.
All right.
Yeah, except on LinkedIn.
I'm there. There's a lot going on.
I'm
All
kidding
right.
you again.
You can catch me on social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X. I'm also on LinkedIn as well, but I'm on Tumblr, and you can catch all my shows on my YouTube channel, Ralph Williams RW Media. And I just got picked up by two networks, CRSMmedia.com, which is headed up by Claudio Rosano, and I just got picked up by him. My shows will be on his network. My website is just about done, and I want to thank Dada for doing my website. I want to thank him for that. That's coming real soon. A brand new RW Media website. I'm also going to be on Fan First Sports Network real soon, and also several other networks as well. I just had the president of ASAP Sports on this past Tuesday on my college football spectacular. So I just want to let everyone know that RW Media is moving along, and I'm also working on my own Roku channel, and I'm going to start shortly be on Spotify as well. And I want to thank Scott for having me on the Fire Up show, and I want to thank Jeremy for having me on Wednesday night for the NFL Roundtable, and I want to thank and Leo as well for the Amped Up Sports for letting me put my shows on there as well. Sideline Sports and a whole bunch of others. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, let me add one thing about Ballrick, because I like to have fun with this guy. In the eyes of Joshua Burstein and Blake Lozinski, okay, I know he's on LinkedIn, how often he's on it, but we'll just say we'll call it a dog check and a ball buster and leave it nice and easy so this guy doesn't feel like I'm embarrassing him on a national platform. So that's okay. But to your credit, pal, at least you're wearing the right cap. So we give you that.
All right, guys. For Leo Haggerty, Scott Morganroth, and Jeremy Ballrick, I'm Ralph Williams. Everyone have yourself a great week, and we'll see you next week right here on The External Bum. And thanks for your comments. Thanks for watching. Be safe.